World War II stands as the deadliest and most consequential conflict in human history, fundamentally reshaping our world in ways we still feel today. As we look back from 2025, exactly 80 years after its conclusion, understanding this pivotal moment becomes increasingly crucial for our future. The seeds of World War II were planted in the aftermath of the First World War. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, imposed harsh penalties on Germany, including massive war reparations and territorial losses. This created a perfect storm of economic hardship and national humiliation that would later be exploited by Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party. But the treaty was just one piece of a complex puzzle that would eventually ignite global conflict. The Great Depression of 1929 sent shockwaves through the international community, leading to the rise of extreme political ideologies. In Germany, Hitler's Nazi Party promised to restore German pride and prosperity. In Italy, Mussolini's fascist regime had already taken power, while Japan's military government pursued an aggressive expansion policy in Asia. These totalitarian regimes shared common characteristics. They suppressed democracy, promoted nationalism, and believed in military might as the path to national greatness. The failure of appeasement became evident as Hitler systematically violated the Treaty of Versailles. He rebuilt Germany's military, remilitarized the Rhineland, annexed Austria, and demanded the Sudetenland region of Czechoslovakia. Western powers, still traumatized by the First World War, chose appeasement over confrontation. The Munich Agreement of 1938, which handed the Sudetenland to Germany, was famously described by Winston Churchill as a choice between war and shame. You chose shame, and you will get war. The war officially began on September 1, 1939, when Germany invaded Poland using its revolutionary blitzkrieg tactics. Britain and France, honoring their alliance with Poland, declared war on Germany. The Soviet Union, having signed a non-aggression pact with Hitler, invaded Poland from the east, effectively partitioning the country. The war had begun, but for many months it seemed oddly quiet on the Western Front, a period known as the Phony War. That changed dramatically in 1940. Germany launched its offensive in Western Europe, quickly overwhelming Denmark, Norway, Belgium, and the Netherlands. France, despite its strong military, fell in just 6 weeks. Britain stood alone against Nazi Germany, enduring the Blitz, intense bombing raids designed to break British morale. The Battle of Britain became the first major military campaign fought entirely by air forces, with the Royal Air Force successfully defending against the Luftwaffe's attempts to gain air superiority. Hitler's decision to invade the Soviet Union in June 1941, codenamed Operation Barbarossa, marked a crucial turning point. The massive campaign opened a second front and ultimately stretched German resources too thin. The Soviet Union, despite initial devastating losses, managed to halt the German advance at Moscow and eventually began pushing back. The brutal Eastern Front would account for roughly 80% of German military casualties in the war. The war became truly global when Japan attacked Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, bringing the United States into the conflict. This proved to be a fatal miscalculation by Japan. The United States' enormous industrial capacity and resources would ultimately prove decisive in both the European and Pacific theaters. The war in the Pacific was marked by brutal island-hopping campaigns with battles like Midway, Guadalcanal, and Iwo Jima becoming legendary. Meanwhile, the Holocaust was being carried out in Nazi-occupied Europe. The systematic murder of 6 million Jews, along with millions of others deemed undesirable by the Nazi regime, represented humanity at its darkest. The discovery of the death camps by Allied forces revealed the true horror of the Nazi regime and would lead to fundamental changes in international law and human rights conventions. The tide of war turned definitively in 1943. The Soviet victory at Stalingrad, the Allied success in North Africa, and the increasing effectiveness of the strategic bombing campaign against Germany marked the beginning of the end for the Axis powers. D-Day, the Allied invasion of Normandy on June 6, 1944, opened a second front in Western Europe, accelerating Germany's collapse. The war in Europe ended in May 1945 with Germany's unconditional surrender. The Pacific War continued until August, when the United States dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, leading to Japan's surrender. The decision to use nuclear weapons remains controversial to this day, but it ushered in a new era of warfare and international relations. The human cost of World War II was staggering. An estimated 70 to 85 million people died, including about 50 million civilians. Entire cities were reduced to rubble, economies were shattered, and the political map of the world was redrawn. The war's aftermath saw the emergence of the United States and the Soviet Union as global superpowers, leading to the Cold War that would dominate international relations for the next 4 decades. The war's legacy continues to shape our world. The United Nations was established to maintain international peace and security. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights was adopted in response to the Holocaust. The Nuremberg trials established precedents for international justice. The European Union emerged from the determination to prevent future European wars through economic integration. Today, as we witness rising nationalism, authoritarianism, and international tensions, the lessons of World War II become increasingly relevant. The war taught us the dangers of appeasement, the importance of international cooperation, and the devastating consequences of unchecked aggression and hatred. It showed us both humanity's capacity for unspeakable evil and its ability to unite against tyranny. The post-war international order, built on the principles of collective security, human rights, and economic cooperation, faces new challenges in our contemporary world. Rising powers question the established order, while new technologies create unprecedented possibilities for both cooperation and conflict. Understanding World War II helps us appreciate why this international system was created and what's at stake if it fails. As we mark 8 decades since the war's end, fewer and fewer survivors remain to share their first-hand experiences. This makes it even more crucial for us to study and remember this pivotal moment in human history. The war's lessons about the fragility of peace, the importance of standing up to aggression, and the need for international cooperation remain as relevant as ever. World War II reminds us that peace and democracy cannot be taken for granted. They must be actively defended and nurtured. As we face contemporary challenges from climate change to technological disruption, the war's legacy of international cooperation and human resilience offers both warnings and hope for our collective future.